Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed Live from Los Angeles. I'm Jason McIntyre, here with Chris Broussard and LeVar Arrington. We made it to Friday, LeVar.
Yeah, man. Good day to you all. What up, Brew?
What's up, fellas? Let's finish strong. J-Mac, you look better in the tie. Let's hope you have better takes in the tie.
Yeah, well, my wife told me I'm dominating this week. I might as well wear a tie for Friday. Let's get started. Before the Nets were eliminated by the eventual champion Bucks, Kevin Durant was hooping at an all-time high. If it wasn't for his size 18 shoe, he may have led Brooklyn to a championship. Now, KD has become the leading scorer in Team USA history and is also eyeing the ultimate prize as they get ready to play for the gold in the Tokyo Olympics tonight. Chris Broussard, we're starting with you. Is KD the clear-cut best player on the planet?
Before I answer this, let's put an end to the blaming KD's shoe size for why they didn't finish off the Bucks. All right, it was a great shot, one of the best shots I've seen in years. But he's had big feet his whole life. He knew what size shoe he wore, so he could have prepared for that and backed up just a smidge. All right, so that's no excuse. But is he the clear-cut best player in the world? I could really play off of this and fudge it by saying, no, he's not the clear-cut best player. But I'm saying, no, he's not the best player in the world. He is the best scorer. He is the best scorer. That's clear-cut. His combination of size, shooting ability, ball handling ability makes him flat out the best scorer. If I need buckets in a game, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, there's nobody on the planet I would rather have than Kevin Durant if I need buckets. All right. And then when I go back historically, outside of the big guys, a Wilt, a Kareem, I mean, I'm only really putting Michael Jordan ahead of KD if I absolutely need buckets. All right, so this dude is one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. He's flat out unstoppable. People might not believe me, but years before he joined Golden State, I was saying he's a 7-foot version of Steph Curry. Because the dude can score at every level. So I love KD as a scorer. But there's more to the game than scoring. And so, look, a lot of times in the NBA, there is a guy who is the definitive, clear-cut, to use your term, J-Mac, best player in the world, whether they win the championship or not. All right, Michael Jordan was that at times. I say the late 80s, whether they won the championship or not. LeBron James has been that best player in the world for a decade, whether or not they won the championship. We're not in that place right now. It's kind of up in the air. KD, there's a strong argument. Some would still argue LeBron. Right now, I'm going to give the throne to Giannis. All right, and I get it. Obviously, he's not the scorer that KD is. But who's the better defender? KD could not have dominated Phoenix on both ends of the floor the way Giannis did. So Giannis is a far better defender. Giannis is a far better rebounder. In transition, I like Giannis just as much, especially when he's got the ball and he goes Euro step and takes it all the way to the cup. Playmaking abilities, you might give the slight edge to KD, but Giannis racks up just as much assists. In fact, his career assist total is higher than KD's. All right, scoring, yes, again, there's no doubt KD is a better scorer. But over the last 4 seasons, Giannis has actually scored more points than Kevin Durant, and he's done it just as efficiently, if not more efficiently. All right? And here's the deal. We know that Giannis has a major weakness with his lack of shooting ability. But if he plays to his strengths, the way he did in the NBA Finals, which is dominating the interior, all right? And when you're on the perimeter, making the right decisions, but not playing point forward for the most part, not playing point guard, not settling for the jumper, he is the most dominant player when he does it inside. All right, just like KD can't be stopped on the perimeter, Giannis can't be stopped inside. And if he continues to play to his strengths, not his weaknesses, then he can be the best player in the world. I don't remember Shaq shooting jumpers. I don't remember Kareem shooting 18-foot jump shots. I don't remember Olajuwon shooting three-pointers. But it didn't matter. We didn't care because they played to their strength in the post. Now Giannis, it looks like, has finally figured it out. Let me play to my strength. And over time, maybe he'll develop a better J. He can shoot a little more. But if he plays to his strengths, guys, he's number 1 right now.
Ifs and fifths. Qualifications.
Well, he did.
Qualifications by
He did.
Mr.
They got
Broussard.
a ring. That's not a qualifier.
LeVar,
they
do you
got
even
a ring.
have Giannis in your top 3?
You know what? Here's what's interesting. Play to your strengths. I mean, if they foul him and put him on the free throw, he don't have no choice in that matter.
Well, he is 17 of 19,
One game.
so I'm just saying.
One game.
It's great. It's
One
great
biggest game of his life.
It's great of you to look at Giannis. Listen, Giannis did something that KD didn't do, which was win with his own team. I will say that. And you didn't put that in your discussion report. Okay, I understand that.
We got time.
But you know what's interesting about your discussion point is you use the same logic to take away why KD isn't the best player on the planet and actually justified it and qualified it for Giannis. That's crazy to me, but that's good because when you're talented, I'm
lost in your philosophy.
I'm going to find you. Don't worry about that. Or it might fly over your head. I don't know, but I'm going to take my shot. Here it is. To say that KD is just a scorer, I think is really, really undervaluing the brilliance that he is as a player. Yes, he isn't the greatest of defensive players. I understand that. He might not even be the best passer in terms of getting the stats for assists and different things like that. I understand that. But KD as a competitor, which you cannot measure or weigh, I don't see there being very many other than LeBron James. There's a few guys. Russell Westbrook, mentality in terms of competitive. But there aren't very many guys that you can look at with the ferocity of competitive nature that KD has. Now, I had an opportunity to get to know KD personally, being a D.C. dude. He used to come around my restaurant all the time, and we used to talk and we used to hang out. And one of the things that I really, really appreciated about him was his willingness to discuss what he really ultimately wanted to be, the greatness of what he wanted to be, the way he approaches what he wants to be. The dude is a workhorse. So to me, when I look at KD and I say, yes, he is the greatest basketball player on the planet right now, with LeBron being a second, even as old as he is, I look at it from the simple fact that can KD stand up to any situation that comes his way? And I would say more boxes get checked off with KD being able to handle what comes his way in a basketball game than Giannis. And for that fact, I look at KD and I say to myself, he can shoot. He can shoot from anywhere on the court. The NBA is a much evolved game. You don't have to be some great big man like you guys have said. I've listened to you guys. You don't have to have a big man's mentality in today's NBA. In fact, in order to be able to keep up in today's NBA, you have to be able to do what best? Shoot. That's what you guys said. That's the words really? That's the guys words. Those are the words you guys said. I said the Lakers would be the best team in the West. You guys said they don't have enough three-point shooting, and you can't compete in today's NBA if you don't have shooters and three-point shooters. And the reason why the Brooklyn Nets are the best is because all three of them can create space and score and shoot from anywhere on the floor. That's what you guys said. I'm not putting anything in your mouths. That's what you guys said. So if I'm looking at the logic of what you guys have used and I look at my personal understanding of what greatness looks like on the basketball court or in the field arena of competition, I'm looking at KD as the best natural basketball player, the best skilled player as it applies to being able to do what you need to do best, which is win games by scoring. That's what I would say.
I like that a lot. I like KD's take here from LeVar a lot more than Chris's Giannis. I don't have Giannis in my top 3. I think what you guys are missing is the definition of best. Like, how do you define best? Is it the best scorer? Is it the best defender? Giannis might be the best defender. Is it the guy who raises the level of all of his teammates? Because that's something LeBron did to become the best player in this league for the longest time. My answer right now, the best player in the NBA is Luka Doncic. At 22 years old, the things he has been able to do. Chris, you love a good triple-double. You love to talk about Russ's triple-doubles. Luka Doncic at 22 already is 11th all-time in triple-doubles. And he's 22 years old. This is a guy who has not had an all-star teammate in Dallas, yet he goes up against the juggernaut Clippers, who Broussard has labeled for, I think, 2 straight years as the team to beat in the West. And he took them to 6 games at 21 and then 7. Averaged 35, 10, and 7. Shot 40% from 3. Luka Doncic is unbelievable at raising the level of his teammates. I have Luka number 1, Kevin Durant number 2, and I would have LeBron still number 3 in the NBA. And again, Chris, I know you're going to go, Luka hasn't won a playoff series. Hey, you were the one who referenced Michael Jordan at the outset, okay? Luka is an early stages Michael Jordan, but he makes everybody else better. I know he doesn't play great defense, but what we're seeing in this Olympics, okay? We just saw him go up against France. He's basically playing with 4 plumbers, and he takes France down to the wire. He had 18 assists and 1 turnover in that game. The guy had the 3rd Olympic triple-double ever. LeBron had one, I think, in 2012, and then some Russian guy in the 70s. Luka Doncic is taking plumbers to the bronze medal game. He's taking guys in Dallas, no all-stars, to the Clippers in Game 7. He had 46 points against the Clippers in Game 7. I just want to remind you, Giannis, by the way, could not break through and get to the finals until they added a 3rd all-star. Giannis, Chris Middleton, and let's bring in Drew Holiday, former all-star, and that will get us over the top. So Giannis' teammates, much better. Kevin Durant, I mean, listen, he was sliding into my DMs back in 2017 when I went on Cowherd Show and said, hey, KD, he's the best player in the league. But when I look around right now, I think KD's a close second, but Luka Doncic, for my money, is the best player in the league. Wow. And Chris, I say best because if there's a draft of anybody in the league, you got the first pick.
I'm taking
Who are you
KD.
Taking right now?
KD.
LeVar's going KD. I'm going Luka Doncic. And guys, I can't wait to see what happens when the Mavs actually put all-stars around him.
Luka's great. It's going to be interesting to see how Jason Kidd uses him this year, because you already hear complaints from like Kristaps Porzingis playing with Luka, because Luka dominates the ball. Luka does everything. And that can be hard, just like it's been with LeBron. Bringing in a guy that can create his own stuff, they can get frustrated when one guy's handling the ball all the time. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Kidd builds around Luka. I love Luka. I call him Luka Legend. Shannon calls him Baby Bird. I think he's going to be fantastic. I wouldn't put him at the best player right now. He's not good enough on the defensive end. So a lot of times what he gets you offensively, he gives up close to that on the defensive end. And he hasn't won a playoff series. You said I referenced Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was winning playoff series by the time he became the best player in the world, in most people's view. All right, he did average 37 in his 3rd season, something like that. But let me get back
address to LeVar. Go ahead.
LeVar
yes,
first.
address LeVar, please.
You talked about shooting.
Yes.
And we said the Lakers need shooting. That's team. No team can really compete in today's NBA if they don't have shooting. Okay? But we're talking about one player. Everybody on the team doesn't have to be a great shooter. I just need shooting somewhere on the floor. And my point is, yes, if Giannis is going to play the way he did, last year, and he's going to try to be the point forward, and he's going to, just rev up and try to drive against a wall, or he's going to settle for the 3-point shot or the mid-range jumper, he's not the best player in the world. But if he's going to play inside, getting there by post-ups, getting there by offensive rebounds, getting there by rolling, cutting, flashing, whatever it is, Euro step in transition, he can't be stopped. He can't be stopped. He's as lethal inside as KD is outside. In fact, more so because it's inside. And no matter how great a shooter you are, it's easier to score inside than outside. And so that's the jump shot thing doesn't work. And then to you, J-Mac, you talked about, you wanted to big up his supporting cast. Giannis did something, and LeBron is obviously a better player, you know, historically than Giannis. But Giannis did something LeBron is yet to do. And LeBron never will do it. He's in his 19th year. He's never won a championship without a second superstar. Giannis just did at age 26. All right, Chris Middleton is a two-time All-Star, J-Mac. Don't make him out to be, you know, something he's not.
Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are in the Olympics right now. Yeah. Two Olympians versus All-Stars. Like, come on, give me a break.
Can a brother finish?
Go ahead.
Can a brother finish?
Yes.
Oh, that Olympic team, JaVale McGee's an Olympian, J-Mac.
Stop.
All right. Drew Holiday made one All-Star team, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was. So don't act like he's got a big three. All right? Giannis just took some good players to the championship. He didn't take a super team. That KD hasn't led a team to a championship.
KD's teammates were hurt, Chris. Come on, stop. That is silly.
You talk about making other players better.
Yeah.
Giannis just did that, dude.
Well, no, he didn't. They beat a Nets team that was missing Kyrie Irving.
But
Chris, stop. That is silly.
Whatever
the Bucks were down 2-0 to the Nets. They were about to get swept.
They were
Kyrie
actually
gets
down
hurt.
2-1
James Harden is a shell of himself.
And leading.
They were down 0-2.
Don't misrepresent.
They were down 0-2. Fact. You can't argue that. They were down 0-2 going home. Kyrie Irving gets hurt in Game 3. That's a wrap.
They were getting dominated in that series.
That's silly, Chris.
You
can't argue. You can't even argue that. That's silly.
They were down 2-0 to Phoenix. And Kevin Durant was there. Why didn't Kevin Durant do something?
You just
by himself, yes.
You just qualified.
Yeah, he was great, but James Harden was there. Durant was great, but Durant was there,
James
and
Harden
Giannis was
there. Like 75%.
And you said in any situation.
Hold on.
I can call on KD.
But LeVar, let me just
remember the situation when Giannis faced up KD late in the game, drove at him, turned around, backed him down, and hooked over him.
Yeah, and what about the time 2 years ago Giannis choked against the Raptors? What about 2 years ago, last year in the bubble, when Giannis and the Bucks got destroyed by the Heat? Just because they add Drew Holiday and win the championship because everybody else in the league is hurt, stop putting Giannis at the top. Kevin Durant is ahead of Giannis, and LeVar's right on that.
So
Luka's ahead of both of them, but
are we gonna? Okay, so now we're going back in history. We're gonna go back to the time when LeBron struggled against Dallas.
Yeah, you want to go back a decade versus a year or two? Sure, go for it.
That disqualifies him from being best in the world. We're gonna go back to the time when KD dropped a 3-1 lead to Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. That disqualifies
4 years ago alongside
Is that
Russell
how
Westbrook.
we rolling, J-Mac?
No, that's not
Is that how we're rolling?
4 years compared to one?
Well, you just stop rolling like that.
A decade? LeVar, talk some sense into this guy. I don't know what's wrong with Broussard. Giannis?
You brought up Luka, and I love Luka, but it's too premature. Let Luka win a playoff. You disrespect the L.A. Clippers every time you get a chance. The paper clips. And now you want to use as an argument that Luka took them to 6?
As much as I disrespect him, remember, you love to gas up Kawhi Leonard as a great two-way player, Paul George a great wing defender. Neither of them could stop Luka. He destroyed both Kawhi and Paul George.
Actually, they
destroyed them. 35, 10, and 7. They could not check him man-to-man. Could not.
They literally stopped this season.
2 against 1. They beat him. Yes, they beat him down 2 against 1. You're right. I forgot.
All right,
Luka and all his all-stars against the paper clips. You're right.
I'm a part of a dysfunctional relationship going on right on live television, and I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying spectating it. I mean, I think that the debate is even better than the topic itself at this point. The interaction. I've really enjoyed it, and it doesn't change anything that I'm thinking, by the way. I mean, I love how, you know, when you have that command of information the way that Chris Broussard has it, and when you deliver it, you notice when you're delivering with conviction, it goes from, I was speaking about this, and then it ends up being here.
He's fired up early on Friday.
Look, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate
I got
the
LeVar
passion.
singing because he can't compete with the facts. So he's singing. He's going to his charisma. You know all that.
That could be.
He's about to tell us a story from his career.
That could be true. Well, they say that makes for good television. That's why I like to throw out those nice personal touches of stories so the people can relate. Because y'all might have been flying over people's heads with y'all discussion points. I'm gonna bring it back down to real life and real earth. You sat there and said all of the ifs about Giannis. If Giannis does this in transition, if Giannis moves around and does this, if Giannis does the posting up and does that, all these different things that you're saying. If KD decided to play better defense, I only have one. You said like 4 or 5 different things to justify what Giannis. He doesn't have to rebound. It's not for him to have to rebound. Especially if he's touching the bottom of the net.
KD averaged 10 boards against Giannis in that series. 35 and 10.
The point is, I'm taking all of the elements that are on the table right now. I'm looking at the elements on the table, not the if, ands, or buts. And if I'm taking out the if, ands, or buts of both of these guys' games, and I had to compare them up and up, head to head, nose to nose, Kevin Durant is a higher player on the board than what Giannis is. That's the bottom line. You can throw out all the statistical categories you want to throw out to try to justify otherwise. But if you stack these two side by side and say, which of these two players are the better of the two players, you are not going to go with Giannis. You are not. You're going to look at Kevin Durant and what Kevin Durant brings to the table as a player. You are not going to sit there and go to Giannis and say that Giannis is the better player. It's as simple as that. We could try to be as philosophical as we want to be. It's as simple as KD is the best player on the planet right now. For whatever it's worth, whatever his weaknesses are, whatever his strengths are, KD is the best player. Period.
Chris, one of the big issues with this topic... Wait, hold on, Chris, one second. Well, Chris, 1 second. One of the big issues with this topic is teammates. A lot of people... I texted a prominent trainer in the NBA last night after we got sent this topic, and his instant response was, it's LeBron. Kevin Durant has to win without superstars. And that's one of the problems with this who is the best debate. Right? Because as you said,
LeBron has to win with superstars.
LeBron has to win with superstars. Everybody has to win with superstars. Nobody in NBA history has won without a superstar. Who?
Giannis just won without a superstar.
Dude, what are you talking about? He's playing with 2 Olympians.
Chris Middleton's a superstar.
Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are top 20 players in the NBA. Are they not? Chris Middleton's, I think, a max player.
No, they're not.
Did Chris Middleton get a max deal, Chris?
Chris Middleton is not a superstar.
Did he get a max deal?
Are you sitting here on national television telling everybody
they don't give max deals to bums?
I'm not going to give them. I'm not giving them superstar. But my question to you, Broussard, would be how many superstars are circulating around the NBA right now?
Yeah, there's like 7.
How many superstars? Like when you go back a few years, back to when Shaq and Kobe and all, you could find superstars scattered all around the league. Go back a little bit further, original teams. Like, sometimes I get a little bothered when we talk about the Michael Jordans and you know, the Isaiah Thomases and stuff like that, because they already were superstar-driven teams. They already were loaded, stacked teams back in those days. You look at the Knicks, you look at the Bulls, you look at the Pistons, you look at the Celtics, you look at the Lakers. Every one of them teams. If you're telling me that a team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Michael Cooper, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, that's not a superstar-driven team. That's not a super team. So to me, this whole super team stuff, it sometimes gets overblown and overstated. He had a very well-rounded team in Milwaukee, but let's be clear, they would have lost out to the superior play of Brooklyn had the injuries not taken place the way that they did. You did
ifs all day with Giannis.
LeVar. I thought you were Mr. If was a fifth, we'd all be. Now you bring it up woulda, coulda, shoulda.
You are correct. I digress. You are correct. You are correct.
We are not picking the winner of the skills competition at the All-Star weekend. All right? We are picking the guy with the greatest impact right now on the game.
That's Kevin Durant.
Giannis. And I don't hold it against LeBron or anyone else for winning with a superstar. You're right. Magic always had a superstar. Bird has superstar. We get that. But Giannis did just win a championship without another superstar. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, that's
Kevin
fair.
Durant,
now we're splitting hairs on a superstar.
But we're still talking about a team accomplishment.
Yeah. Kevin McHale
You are
is not a
still
superstar.
basing his greatness off of a team accomplishment.
Teammate.
You're like weaving in and out. You're weaving in and out of argument points.
KD has always had an MVP teammate. So, except for his early in his career when they were so young.
This is a fun open to the show. Just a reminder, Game 5, 2-2. Drew Holiday is the one who has the deciding factor in the series. 27 points, 14 assists in Game 5. It was Drew Holiday who carried Giannis in Game 5 to the big win over the Suns. The relationship between Ben Simmons and the 76ers seems to be taking a hit. Philly already hired Dame Lillard's trainer earlier this week in what could be a move to help welcome a Lillard-Simmons trade. And this morning, Dame just told reporters that the Blazers did not have the free agency he would have liked. There are also reports that Simmons has cut off communication with Philly as any chatter is being directed to his agent, Rich Paul. On top of that, Simmons' dynamic with Joel Embiid has been deemed beyond repair. Yikes. Chris Broussard, how does this play out in Philly?
Well, it seems like it's coming together for the perfect trade, right? I mean, they want Damian Lillard in Philly. Portland could start all over. They have a new coach in Chauncey Billups. You build around Ben Simmons. I mean, that's how this should end out. But it will take Damian Lillard going to the Portland Trail Blazers and saying, look, I want to be moved, and I want you to move me to Philadelphia. And I think the Blazers would work with Dame. Now, they're going to do what's best for them at the end of the day, as is Philadelphia. But I think it'd be a nice move for Portland. They're not going anywhere as they are currently constructed. They lost last year to Denver while Jamal Murray was hurt for the Nuggets. That same Nuggets team got swept by the Phoenix Suns. All right, so Dame threw out a few weeks ago. He threw out a scenario, a challenge to the Blazers that was impossible to make. He said, we got to see what we do in the offseason. Let's improve our team. Everybody knew they couldn't. They couldn't improve their team. He comes out today and says, we didn't do what, we had hoped to do. Well, you did what we figured you'd do. They were what we thought they were. All right? And so it was like Dame was putting something out there that they couldn't reach. I don't know if he knew that or not, but certainly people that follow the league closely knew they weren't going to be able to make a splash in free agency. It seems like because Dame has been so strong and adamant about being loyal to Portland, so strong and adamant in his opposition to super teams, that he doesn't want to move, that he doesn't want to be the guy to say, you know what, I need to go here to win a championship. And so, but look, nobody's going to hold that against you. We just said it. LeBron hasn't won it without a second superstar. KD hasn't won it without a second superstar. And a third in Klay Thompson, I would say. So nobody's going to hold this against Dame. And Philadelphia is the perfect place. They need leadership in the locker room. He gives that. They need a great point guard and shooter. He gives that. He's a perfect mix with Joel Embiid. It fits perfectly. And I know Ben Simmons doesn't want to go to Portland. That's the word out. So what? All right? You're not controlling the situation, especially when you're not going to behave professionally. If Ben Simmons wants to work with them on a trade, then work with them. But if you're going to ignore our calls if these reports are true and not answer our texts and ghost us, and we're supposed to trade you where you want to go, I'll trade you where you want to go if it benefits us. But ultimately, we're going to do what's best for us if we're Philadelphia, and especially if you're not going to be professional and work with us, because Ben is hurting his trade value right now. He's got good trade. Look, I've talked to people in the league that don't want to touch him. I don't want somebody that's scared to shoot. I've talked to more people in the league that really like him, that would love, that think you can build a team around him, kind of like Milwaukee built around Giannis with shooters, even though he's not as good and aggressive as Giannis. All right, so he's got value, but when you act unprofessionally like this and you won't even talk to the team that's paying you all this money, that's not a good look. So he's cutting his trade value right now, but I think a perfect trade would be him for Damian Lillard, and whatever else it takes to make it happen. And you put Lillard in Philly and Ben in Portland.
I mean, it may sound a little redundant because, I mean, quite frankly, there isn't a lot of meat on the bone of this conversation. It is a Joel Embiid team. Like, that isn't up for question. Let's start there, because when you start there and understanding that Joel is the priority of what's taking place here, then now you're able to figure out the Ben Simmons situation. Ben ultimately, the organization ultimately, and the rest of the league ultimately understands that Ben Simmons is expendable at this point as a player, as a commodity for the Philadelphia 76ers. So now understanding that, how do you play your cards? It has now become a slim free agency pool of players to go after. Dame Lillard does fit the bill to be a tremendous addition. I made mention of the fact he has an AI-like personality persona. You know, they're into kind of the same things, the influence of it, the way he's gritty and tough and just has a certain demeanor about him that fits Philly-style basketball. So he would be a tremendous addition to this team. They added his trainer. That was a strategic move in itself. Sometimes there are things that you can't understand how and why they happen the way that they do. But I just wonder, in looking at Joel Embiid and establishing that it's going to be what's best for Joel Embiid to be the best player he can be for the Sixers, you look at it as it being a match made in heaven. You look at the skills and what Dame Lillard brings to the table. But then I started thinking to myself, could there be a conflict? And not a conflict in terms of how it would look or how it would play out on the basketball court. I kind of came to the conflict conversation point because doesn't it seem like there's a parallel connected to Joel Embiid and player relations? I mean, I start thinking about the Andre Drummond trade. What's the first thing we're discussing about it? The beef, can the beef be settled between Andre and Joel Embiid? Now we're talking about the Ben Simmons situation. Let me tell you something. If one of my teammates didn't answer my call when we're calling, if there's one person that you can talk to in situations like these, it's your teammates. When I was having contract situations and things were falling apart with what was going on with me in Washington, I was on the phone with my homeboys. I was on the phone with my teammates. You know what we were doing? We were colluding. You know why we were colluding? Because that's how it's supposed to be. How do we make this work? I actually leveraged the team to put in a CBA deal running out. Hey, put the contracts that you're doing. If the CBA runs out, you got to get under the cap, which this may be not understandable, but just bear with me. I had them guarantee the contracts of my defensive teammates before I would do the deal to restructure my deal so that everything fit in proper perspective for the salary cap. They didn't do it. We ended up going a different direction. But the point of the story is you would never sell out your teammate if the relationship is strong with your teammate. So this is a deteriorated situation, and it makes me wonder, is Joel Embiid the one that has to take a look in the mirror and say, people don't want to play in the sandbox with you? Like, we're going to bring Dame Lillard's, trainer here. We're going to do this, and we're going to try to make concessions to try to make this a soft landing and a more appealing situation. But us as players, we know one another. And we know what we think about one another, how we interact with one another. You'd be like, oh, dude is weird, or this dude is a bum, or, oh, he's a G. That's an OG. That's a triple OG. You know who's who by now. Yeah. I wonder, is this a situation that's brewing where we think that it's the best situation for Dame Lillard? But the type of dude Dame Lillard is, he seemed like an OG to me. Yeah. I don't know that he goes in there and deals with some of this stuff that I feel like this is the reason why Embiid has issues with his teammates. Why do you have a situation where Simmons isn't answering your calls? So to me, I get a little bit skeptical now as to if Dame Lillard is a great fit for this team. And quite frankly, we talked about Luka and who's going to play with Luka. He's ball dominant. You know who's ball dominant? Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is ball dominant. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is, of course he is ball dominant. Yeah, he's a ball. He is ball dominant. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about Joel Embiid. He just seems to have that type of personality where it's possible he could rub you the wrong way. Now, I'm just basing that off of what I see and what I hear and what I read. I don't know the man, so I'm not going to make a personal assumption on him and attack. But I just wonder if it begs to have the discussion of, is it the proper place to go play as long as Joel Embiid is the main focal point of the team?
Well, two things to back up LeVar. He did get into it with Shake Milton last year. Remember, there was like a towel thrown in somebody's face on the bench. And after the Game 7 loss to the Hawks, Embiid made some comments about Simmons that were not great. I think I read somewhere that Ben Simmons has not been back to Philadelphia since that series loss. Apparently, there were a lot of threats from fans, and he doesn't feel comfortable there. Ben Simmons wants out, clearly. He wants to go to a warmer climate. He would love to go to Golden State. This is a guy who grew up in Australia, down under. And, but he doesn't want to be in Portland, as Chris said. Reading these Dame Lillard quotes, which just broke within the last hour, I just have to wonder, guys, there's a lot of fence sitting there from Dame Lillard. He doesn't want to come out and make a demand that I want out. And this is a tough discussion to have, but not everybody is built to be hated. It takes a lot when a team drafts you and you spend 7, 8, 9 years there. It is very difficult to just say, I want out, I'm done. Because guess what? All those fans who rooted for you, bought your jersey, went to the autograph signing, they instantly hate you. They all follow you on social media. They're going to go fill up your Instagram comments and with negativity and how could you abandon us? I'm just saying this. It is more difficult. It is the tougher path to demand a trade. That's why Kevin Durant leaving in free agency was tougher than staying. Everybody hated Kevin Durant. LeBron, the decision, everybody in Cleveland hated him. They burned his jerseys. They ripped him on social media. And I know you guys are going to say, social media, who cares? These athletes have a phone in their pocket. No, they are hooked on their phone. That stuff plays games with your head. It's not cool. And it's very difficult. I know Dame Lillard's a great guy. He's an outstanding player. I don't know if he's built to stand up there and say, I want out. I'm done. I need to move on. Because all his fans in Portland are going to not like him. And he's only going to want to go to 3 franchises. It is tough to be the guy who's hated. Bradley Beal clearly is not built that way. He's like, we'll stay in Washington. Get me Dinwiddie. Get me Kuzma. We're going to win 40 games. Beal didn't want to do it. He could have. I don't know if Dame Lillard ultimately is ready reading that statement from Japan today.
To your point, J-Mac, in these situations, you either have to be an Allen Iverson or Russell Westbrook, where you're like, look, I'm good where I'm at. I'm going to give my all. I'm going to give 150% to win a championship. We're going to try our best. And if we don't, I can live with that. That's what he never wanted to leave Philly. Westbrook was fine in OKC. They made those statements. Or you have to be like James Harden or like KD or Anthony Davis and be willing to get messy, right? Be willing, as you said, to have the fans hate you. And you're right, Dame has been AI and Westbrook before, right? I don't need to go anywhere. We can win here. I'm cool here. And now he kind of wants to go and be the other guy. So that even makes it tougher. Let me say this about Ben Simmons, because I think LeVar, and look, Embiid can rub some guys the wrong way. Yes, that's true. And I do get where Ben is coming from. I get why he's bothered, why he's upset, because of the comments Embiid made. He pointed out as the turning point of the game that they lost when they finally lost to Atlanta, as Ben's turning down that layup, right, and passing to Matisse Thybulle. And then your coach, Doc Rivers, questions whether or not they can win a championship with Ben Simmons as a point guard. So I get Ben's anger. But the way he is acting, the way he is handling this, even as understandably as it is for him to be upset, this shows a reluctance and unwillingness to look in the mirror.
And maturity.
And everybody, no matter how great you are, you have got to be able to look in the mirror. What did we see about Michael Jordan in The Last Dance? He finally had to say, I'm not strong enough to handle the pounding that Detroit's putting on me. So he said, I had to get in the weight room and get strong. He looked in the mirror. What did LeBron do after Dallas in 2011? He stayed in his room for 2 weeks. He talked to his friends, his confidants, D-Wade. He looked in the mirror and said, I got to get better. I got to do something differently. Ben Simmons, yes, Doc, did you wrong with that comment. Yes, Joel, did you wrong with that comment. But ultimately, Ben Simmons, you have to look in the mirror and say, I didn't deliver. I did shoot 34% from the foul line. I did run away from the basketball. I got to be better. Regardless of what they said, I didn't get it done. And he has to look in the mirror. And the way he is, it's like he's putting it all on the Sixers and playing the victim card and wanting sympathy and pity. No, look in the mirror and then get in the lab and work on your mind and your jump shot. And the way he's acting right now, he's not doing that.
Jordan had to understand he didn't have the strength to overcome Krause and what he wanted to do. And that's why it was the last dance. I know you're making it about basketball, but right now this isn't even really about basketball. This is about how you're handling things as a man. And to me, that's the point I think you're making, and I agree with you. He does need to look in the mirror, and he does need to handle the business side of what he has going on. You never know who you're going to rub shoulders with and who you will re-meet and rub shoulders with again. So even in what's taking place, to try to do it as graciously as you can possibly do it, as professionally as you can possibly do it, I think that would be the prudent way of approaching it. But with that being said, let's be clear. In the heat of the moment, in the heat of the battle, Michael Jordan always didn't handle it the right way or say things the right way or do things the right way. And he's one of the greatest examples and role models to ever pattern yourself after. So when I look at what Ben Simmons is dealing with right now and how it's playing on him and how it's affecting him, I got a young man that I'm pretty close with that's in the NBA. And it's one thing. I get crazy comments on my social media, just how people respond to me doing the show, whatever it may be, comments that I make. It is a million times worse for not even A-list players, for B and C-list players. It is ridiculously crazy. Like, it almost should be criminal, some of the things that are being said to these young men. And to think that it doesn't impact them in a way where it can make you reclusive in terms of being available. It could play on your emotions and mess with your family life. These morons that write all of this craziness and type all of this craziness on social media, they really do, in some type of way, in a broader stroke, have an impact on the mental and emotional health of what these guys had going on. And it's not very paid attention to. It's brushed off. People don't really say anything about it. But I think Ben Simmons has to climb out of the dark place that he found himself in after they lost that series. And he has to respond to it in a champion's manner. His career isn't over. It's almost like he's being talked about like his career has now made him into a has-been with what's happened. He's still a valued player. He still has a ton of value to him. But he has to take, like you said, that good, long, hard look in the mirror and say to himself that me over everything. I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to get on this phone. I'm going to talk to Embiid. I'm going to talk to the Sixers, and we're going to figure this out. It isn't going to be us in Philly, but let's figure out what we're going to do and what the best solution is, and then move on from there and try to pick yourself up and do what you need to do. But I would not diminish or undervalue the fact that Ben Simmons is under a lot of pressure and duress and in the situation, because him and Dame become the most talked about guys in terms of who will end up going where. And Ben Simmons, because we know definitively in a way that he is leaving Philadelphia. So that's a lot to have to handle.
To wrap it up, I know we're talking about Dame Lillard and Philly. Just keep an eye on my New York Knicks. They have assets. They have picks. Just remember that. All right, on to the NFL. It's no surprise Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, along with Tom Brady and the Bucs, fall under the NFL's elite umbrella in PFF's offensive rankings. The other three units that made the cut were the Packers, Browns, and Bills. Green Bay and Buffalo have MVP contenders in Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, while Baker Mayfield leads a balanced Cleveland attack. LeVar, do you agree with all these teams making Tier 1?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not one team here. If you look at the Browns, they might be the ones that you say, are they really? But when you look at their offensive front and you look at their backfield, they just gave Chubb his new contract, so he's probably happy and rearing and ready to go. Baker Mayfield, I continue to say, the confidence that Baker Mayfield took away from that playoff run last year, I saw a different Baker Mayfield going into the last part of the season and into the playoffs. I think that that's going to make a tremendous difference in this team coming up this season. I think the familiarity that they have and the amount of players, the amount of talent that they have, I think that this is going to be a pretty efficient offensive team. And then we know that the Bills have improved. We know that the Packers are going to be explosive. The Bucks, those are not even in question. The question would be, are they missing out on any teams that you would believe would be in on that card? As of right now, I think it's justified, the list that you have, and those that could possibly, because some could possibly say a few different teams. I won't say them because I don't want to go into it, but there could be a few possible teams you could throw out there, but it's still kind of a remains to be seen type of approach for me on some of the guys that didn't make the list.
Yeah, based on the love song you sang to the Cowboys offense yesterday, I thought you would put Dallas in there, LeVar.
Well, they could be, but personnel-wise, they could be on there. They could. I'm not tier 1, but possibly.
Well, they're right. I wouldn't put them up there. What I'm with you. Obviously, the other 4, there's no doubt. Cleveland is the question mark. We haven't seen them do it. They're the one team in this tier that doesn't have a tier 1 quarterback. Right? Baker was different with OBJ. I think he'll be able to play well with OBJ this year.
He will now.
But that offense only averaged 25 points a game last year. That was middle of the pack. That offense only scored 10 points against Houston. And they had several other 22 points against Philadelphia. They had several other games where they didn't, 16 points against the New York Jets. And this was late in the season when they were clicking. All right, so while I like Cleveland, they're my pick in that division slightly over Baltimore. But I would like to exchange them in this tier for Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee put up 30 points a game last year. Tennessee has a running back who can equal what Cleveland did. I know Cleveland's got Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but the best running back in the league is Derrick Henry. And unless he falls off, I know he's been hit a lot lately, unless he falls off, that they're going to be powerful and punishing folk. And then you add Julio Jones with A.J. Brown. So my receiving core in Tennessee is as good as Cleveland's, at least. And then my quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, doesn't really make mistakes. He's had 4,000-yard-plus seasons in Miami. So my quarterback's as good as Baker Mayfield, at least. And so I got to put, and Tennessee's done it and added a Hall of Famer, Julio Jones. So I'm going to switch Cleveland and Tennessee. While I like Cleveland, I'm putting the Titans right there instead of the Browns.
I had not considered the Titans. That's not bad, Broussard. I have no issues with the 5 that are in, but I'm just going to point out Josh Allen. I'm not saying he's a one-year wonder, but this is a guy who had 59% completions, and then he jacks up to 70, okay? This is an unbelievable rise in 1 year, okay? Before this year, Josh Allen's not getting the Bills in the top tier. And as you guys said, Cleveland, 1 year, let's see if they can do it again. I would keep them in there, but I would also add Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, you talk about receiving groups. Hello, Lockett and Metcalf are as good as it gets. I know the running game is spotty, but you've got Russell Wilson, one of the great quarterbacks in the league. I think the Dallas Cowboys, you know, we talked about the second best receiving group in the league. All things being equal, offensive line healthy, Zeke healthy, receivers healthy, Dallas has to be tier 1. And the last one that I'm going to put in, and this actually hurt me that they weren't in here, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, a historic 2019, right? I mean, 14-2, Lamar wins the MVP, and they slide back just a little bit. Hello, their left tackle, one of the best in football, missed half the season. And we're keeping the Ravens out of the top tier? Wait, look, don't tell me you have an issue with that.
But top tier, like...
Top tier.
We're not saying that you're a bad offense. We're not saying that it's a bad offense.
They were the #1 offense in the league in 2019 by a mile. And in 2020, they slipped back a little bit. Again, the left tackle was out. They had to play musical chairs on the line. I don't see how they're not at least one of the top 7 offenses in the league.
I kind of put Tennessee's offense in the same category as Baltimore's. It's a tier 2.
So you think Ryan Tannehill is on par with Lamar Jackson?
I believe their offense as a whole is on par. It doesn't translate in the playoffs. Well, as you heard me say, it remains to be seen. Can they be better with Julio Jones? Julio Jones isn't in Atlanta for a reason, bro. Yeah. Like, just is what it is. Let's call a fact a fact. I don't know what he has left.
Don't you like A.J. Brown?
I do like A.J. Brown.
Don't you like A.J.
But
so
what I don't, what I will say is, just much like how Baltimore is, what I don't like is if you shut down one aspect of their game, they become a very one-dimensional team, and it has not translated deeper, like in getting late into the season, into the playoffs. It hasn't translated. So to me, when I think about what translated, the Cleveland Browns, if their offense didn't translate in the playoffs the way that it did this past season, then they certainly shouldn't be on this list, okay? Because the other guys did. The Chiefs translated. Bucks, Packers. The Bills even kind of came up short in the playoffs, but it still shows, they show a ceiling that you can look at and you can get behind what the Bills are doing. And I think the same thing exists with the Browns. So this isn't about saying that the Tennessee Titans or the Ravens aren't really good offenses that could be tier 1 caliber offenses. They've shown they could be tier 1 caliber offenses. Question is can they show that they are a little bit better than what they were? They got to show a little bit more than what they've shown in the last 2 seasons in order to be considered a tier 1, especially with the group that is in the tier 1.
So they need to prove more than the last 2. But Cleveland basically had 1 season, and Buffalo had 1 season. I don't get that.
Who went further in the playoffs?
Russell Wilson's gone further in the playoffs than all those guys.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair, but I don't know that we rest. I don't know that we rest the success of the Seattle Seahawks solely on the Seattle Seahawks offense. I mean, let's be real here. There's a little bit of balance.
They averaged 34 points a game in the first half of the season. And then, obviously the coach pulls the ball out of Russ's hands. They decide to run the football, and they got their teeth kicked.
I thought it was the opposite, but, man, it is what it is. I thought it was the opposite.
You were destroying yesterday. You were destroying Baltimore's offense in the playoffs.
I was absolutely not destroying them. I stated a bunch of facts that in the postseason they had some struggles. That is a fact. It's not an opinion. It is an inarguable fact.
That's the clean version. You took out the explicit lyrics.
It's funny. My brother lives outside Baltimore, and he got a bunch of texts from friends. Hey, what did your brother say about the Ravens? He got a bunch of season ticket holders. I did not destroy the Ravens. I, by the way, like them to potentially win the Super Bowl this year.
The fans agree with me.
Oh, here we go.
I forgot. You and Bruce had the tier 1 Cleveland Browns winning the division.
Oh,
okay,
man.
Here's what I'm saying, though. Look, J-Mac, you got to admit this. I can't put Baltimore on tier 1 until I see more from their passing game. And, yeah, you can go back to 2019. That was 2 years ago. Lamar threw 10 fewer touchdowns last year and 3 more interceptions. So, and I love him and their running game. But to be tier 1, you've got to have some semblance of a very good passing game. And he might do it this year, but until he does, I don't think you can put him on tier 1.
They have a great rookie by the name of Jason Oweh on the defense side of the ball. Watch the defensive side of the ball, this Ravens team. They should be really good, and it could give the offensive side that little extra boost that, Ravens teams have always done, that little extra boost of assistance to the offense to get them to the next step. But so far, you can't say tier 1 elite offense if they can't get past a certain point once they make it to the playoffs. And that's Tennessee and that's Baltimore right now.
No mercy. According to our very own Jay Glazer, Aaron Rodgers has a verbal agreement with the Packers. Green Bay will trade the reigning MVP in 2022 if he still wants out. It remains to be seen if that will actually happen, with previous reports indicating the Packers agreed to trade Rodgers before, only to not follow through. For now, the 37-year-old QB will focus on trying to bring the Lombardi back to Green Bay. All right, LeVar, will the Packers caving to Rodgers help him duplicate his MVP season?
He's going to duplicate or possibly do better than what he did because Aaron Rodgers knows and understands his value when he's playing at a high level. he's not going to let any of this be a distraction to how he plays. It never has really been a distraction to how he plays. So will it help him to duplicate or be an MVP candidate this year? He didn't need this to begin with. Is there more incentive? There certainly is more incentive. In success comes power, and power comes influence, and he has the ability to grasp that and hold that right now. They are caving in. They are making concessions. There's so many different takes on Aaron Rodgers and how this plays out negatively against him. But in reality, in the real world, Aaron Rodgers is really winning, and he's winning big. You know, it's interesting when they use the quote, if he should decide he wants to be traded, if he still wants to be traded. The translation of that is, we don't want to trade him. And you may want to trade him for one reason or another, but as a total whole, you don't want to trade him. Otherwise, he would have been gone by now. Let's be clear here. When you don't want somebody, you can get rid of them. That's what I've always found to be very true, especially in our game of football. They don't want you, you are gone. You can believe that. The fact that this drama continues to build and continues to be a storyline, all it is doing is feeding the beast that Aaron Rodgers created in his lab. It's going to get bigger and it's going to get bigger. You have the spotlight on him because, oh, does he want to get traded? Does he want to stay? What is the concerns about what happens if he does stay? What's the concerns of the front office? Does somebody have to get fired? All of these questions, all they're doing is what guys like Russell Wilson want and other guys out there that haven't maybe gotten the respect or the notoriety that they're looking for. Aaron Rodgers has turned himself into a main storyline. The way you get MVP votes, you play well while people are paying attention. So this story, this drama that's playing out only serves as a narrative, as a platform to be able to drive the agenda of what Aaron Rodgers has, which is to have in my opinion, to have a super solid year, such a solid year where when he says to the front office, these are the things I need to remain a Green Bay Packer, they will have already been in position where they have to do it, and then you have to announce it, and then that's what it's going to be. I do not believe they are brave or bold enough to actually execute getting rid of Aaron Rodgers on their terms. It will not happen. So to me, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is playing tight at all. He has a fully loaded deck to play as loose and as Aaron Rodgers-like as he'd like. So sure, it's going to be a duplicate year or a better year than even what it was last season.
Yeah, I think, look, he was motivated anyway. He wants to win another Super Bowl. You know, I'm sure he wants to win another MVP if he can. And we saw last year, he used his anger about the Jordan Love draft to go out there and play tremendously. So if he wants to be traded, let's say right now in his mind, his intention is this is it, the last dance, like the photo of Jordan and Pippen that he put up on his Instagram. I want to be out of here after this season. Then I do think that's just extra motivation to go out and play well. I don't think there would be a letdown. Because Aaron Rodgers knows if I want to go out here and move on to another team, I need to look good. I'm 38, will be 38 years old in shortly, in December, I believe. I need to look good to have other teams want me. I get it. Even if he looks bad or doesn't have his typical Aaron Rodgers year, teams will still want him. But Aaron Rodgers isn't looking to just move on for 1 year. If he moves on, he's going to want a long-term contract at an advanced age. So he's going to have teams be like, oh, he still got it. Yeah, he's 38. He's closing in on 40, but he still got it, and we're not afraid to sign him up for the next 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, he's got every motivation in the world to go out and ball. And if they don't, then people are going to look at him. I get how great Aaron Rodgers is. We all know that he's one of the best to ever throw the football. But we also know he hasn't been to a Super Bowl in a decade. We also know that he's 1-4 in NFC title games. And we also know that his numbers, his performance in those NFC title games is almost the complete opposite of what he does in the regular season. Oof. Like, he never throws interceptions in the regular season. He throws a lot of them in the title games. So Aaron's got the receivers. He's got the offensive line. He's got the running backs. He's got a good defense. He's got a good coach. The late field goal call against Tampa Bay notwithstanding. He's got everything to make another strong run at the Super Bowl. And if they don't, if they're somehow 11-6, 10-7, and get beaten the first round of the playoffs, then people aren't just going to look at the Packers. They're going to look at Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, boy. All right. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and let you slander Aaron Rodgers. He's not the reason they lost the NFC title game to the Seattle Seahawks, okay? Because he didn't botch recovering the onside kick, okay? That was the defense and the special teams ruined that game. He didn't go to Atlanta and give up like 75 points to the Falcons offense a few years ago. And I don't think you can blame Aaron Rodgers for last year's game against the Bucs. But all that being said, there will be regression coming to the Packers. 13-3 the last 2 years. Look at the schedule, folks. NFL high 10 games this year against teams that made the playoffs last year. The schedule is brutal, by some metrics, toughest in the league. But I think the bigger picture, when you zoom out on Aaron Rodgers, this kind of feels like, and LeVar, we touched on this last week on another show here at FS1, it feels sort of like a divorce that might happen. Hey, listen, I'm going to give you a little bit to clean up your act. Otherwise, we're going to be headed to a divorce in a year. Are you going to change? Are you going to change your ways? Because remember, the things that got you here aren't going to get you where you're going, okay? In life, that totally rings true. And with the Packers, what got them here is, 25 straight years of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And saying no to free agency and just building through the draft, they have to change their ways. They're operating an old school mentality, and that's just not going to work. This idea that, hey, we could just move on from Aaron Rodgers and we can bring in Jordan Love. Like, you guys are going to have a rude awakening in Green Bay if that's the mentality. They have to change. Because, again, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, 25 years, 2 Super Bowls. That's it. I don't think you can blame Favre and you can't blame Rodgers. But you can blame the Packers. They're the one constant. They've been operating the same way for over 2 decades, and they've got to change and adapt and get with the times. I'm just telling you guys, as a Jets fan, I know what it's like to not have a franchise quarterback. Go ask the Miami Dolphins, too, what it's like when you lose Dan Marino. How many playoff wins do they have in the last 2 decades? This idea that you could just move on from Aaron Rodgers and, we'll just bring in the next guy. It's going to work. It's worked for 25 years. No. That's just not reality. And, LeVar, the Packers need to capitulate. Yes, I said capitulate. Hello, Aaron. What can I get you? Would you like a receiver? Would you like an offensive lineman? How can we help you? We want you to end your career here with the Packers. That's what needs to happen.
And listen, we've seen that play out. I mean, we've seen it play out by them moving up in the draft and using a pick that could have clearly made their team a better team on what seemed to be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. Now, what happens from there, you ultimately get an idea of where Aaron Rodgers is coming from, because in those comments that you made, personnel-wise, they actually could use another receiver. Personnel-wise, Bakhtiari isn't healthy. We don't know how well he's going to play. It could be his best offensive lineman. They are a little thin on their offensive front, actually. And so, to me, if you're coming at Aaron Rodgers in a way right now where you're saying, listen, if you still want to go, at the end of this season, we will make it so that we can trade you. Now, verbal agreement, that's fine, whatever. I don't trust it. Like we said, it's been out there before. But the thing that I find to be most peculiar that we're going to have to pay very close attention to is, how does Jordan Love play during the course of this preseason? How is he going to handle himself? And will we hear any responses from Aaron Rodgers? We got the strategic addressing of the union when he first came in. But will he continue to have responses to everything that comes out that's being reported about him? Those 2 things will be very important, for the simple fact that Aaron Rodgers will either show us that he really wants to be in Green Bay by what he's saying and what he's doing versus wanting to get out. And we'll know if Green Bay actually has a real opportunity to separate and distance themselves from Aaron Rodgers because of Aaron Love showing some type of life, some type of pulse during the course of this preseason.
Quick reminder, LeVar, Jordan Love led college football in interceptions in his final year in college. Okay.
No mercy.
Newest Laker Russell Westbrook has a bit of a reputation for being known as a ball stopper. Yet evidence suggests otherwise. KD, Paul George, and Bradley Beal each had their best scoring seasons with Westbrook as their co-star. Maybe some of Russ's magic trickles over to LeBron, AD, or both, as LA aims to win a second title in 3 years. All right, Chris Broussard, what does this mean for LeBron, AD, and the Lakers this season?
Nothing. Nada. Zilch.
Hater.
Right? I mean, no, it can work. These numbers don't make me, oh my gosh, really? That LeBron's going to average a career high. AD, no. Let's look at this. You mentioned KD. You mentioned Bradley Beal. Who was the other guy?
Paul George.
What do all three of those guys have in common?
Oh, they're good.
They're good at shooting.
They're great shooters.
They got a good shot like me.
They're great shooters.
Yeah.
They're great shooters.
But they were
Paul
better
George
shooters.
has been 41% from three the last 2 years. All right, he's career 38. Beal's career 38. I don't even have to bring up KD's numbers. All right, so Russ is tremendous at drawing attention and then passing to the open man. No doubt. So that doesn't surprise me that these guys had great scoring years with them. Here's the other thing. It was two of them, right? It was a big two. And when you have two great players together, even if their games don't really match, it can work. They can both put up numbers. Now, if they don't really match, they might not win, but they'll put up numbers. I go back to Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. Their games didn't really fit in Denver, but they both got theirs. AI, 25, 26 points a game. And Carmelo, 29, 26 points a game. But they went 1-8 in playoff games and bounced in the first round twice. So when it's two guys, because they're so good, each of them is going to get numbers. Now, though, we're talking about a big three. And I'm not saying Russ won't help. I'm just saying it's not going to – LeBron and AD's numbers, at least LeBron should come down, I would think. And Westbrook's will come down. Westbrook, if Russ averages a triple-double, I don't think that's a good thing for the Lakers. Like, I don't think he'll come close to averaging. He doesn't need to average a triple-double with this team. All right, but when there's been big threes with LeBron, notice one has always had to step back. Chris Bosh, Kevin Love. That just normally happens with a big three in general, unless they're all great shooters like Golden State, or unless one of them is a Magic Johnson, Steve Nash. I'm not even thinking about shooting. I'm getting y'all yours, and then I'll score when I need to. That's why I say LeBron should take that approach this year and be like, I'm going to get y'all fed, and then I'll get my points when we need them. And so, look, I think I always have said, Russ, this notion that Russ is a loser, you can't win with him, is overstated. He hasn't won a championship, but he has won big in this league. He just hasn't won it all. So, you know, we'll see if it fits, but this doesn't, to me, this is inapplicable because you're talking about a big three versus a big two.
I disagree. I think that when you have someone who is as energetic as Russ is, as aggressive, I mean, we watched how it worked for Morant and for the Memphis team. It makes a difference when you have a guy that can attack the rim the way that guys as explosive as they are able to. This game, again, I'll continue to run the narrative. It has evolved and it has turned into a different league than even the league where Carmelo Anthony and AI were together and weren't able to get further along. I almost feel like these new age superstar players have this cheat code and understand how the game works in a much different manner, a much more like at the risk of, you know, saying wasn't that with our older generations, but they're more aware. They're much more aware of what they need to do in the off season, preparing their bodies, the technology that goes into everything, really. Their knowledge of the game, the way they watch the film, the way they work out and exercise, the things they eat. It's just very different. So when I look at making a decision to bring a guy like Russell Westbrook into your fold, they will all benefit from this because you have to keep in mind, LeBron is a facilitator as well. He's ball dominant at times, But his ball dominance is really based upon him being able to facilitate for other guys. And a lot of times we give him, we give him real strong criticisms because maybe sometimes he might defer in a moment where we don't want him to defer. But with that being said, I think that's why you bring in Russell Westbrook to your team, is because you need to have that one guy that's going to move people around. So Carmelo can get down court, spot up, so that you can catch LeBron streaking to the hole unimpeded. AD gets an opportunity to post up. It creates more of a one-on-one situation for him because of all the other bodies that are on the court that can make a difference. I think they want Russ to be that guy. I think they want to be the team that is able to get more and be more productive based upon what Russ brings to the table. He is, you said hectic pace. What did you say? A hectic, he moves up and down the court in a hectic.
Plays at a hectic pace.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Hectic,
that's not an insult.
Yeah, I love it because he does play at a feverish pitch. And I think that this is what is going to be the catalyst for this team while the other guys are able to benefit from the energy source that he is. And I think it's a brilliant move, if you ask me. I do think they all improve based upon his involvement.
So I love the stat, obviously, that our team here at Undisputed found. And I'm going to add one that I found on Russell Westbrook. So after the All-Star break, the Wizards led the NBA in points in the paint. And last year, just an incredible stat, Russ was #1 in the league assisting points in the paint. He's able to get inside and just hand off for layups. So I know a lot of that is up-tempo ball with Washington. They played at a hectic pace. They didn't play much defense, so a lot of run and gun. But Russ can get into the lane and create a lot of easy buckets. Now, when you apply that to these Lakers, think about this, Broussard. 2019 in the bubble, who was closing games for the Lakers? It was a fellow by the name of Rajon Rondo, an old point guard who's not really a good shooter, although he shot it well in the bubble. The Lakers lost him and said, oh, well, we need that creator. Who do we get in 2020? Let's go grab Dennis Schroeder. That experiment did not quite work out. Here is the new iteration of that point guard who's questionable shooting but can create for others, and that's Russell Westbrook. He's done it historically. 2 out of the last 3 years, he's led the NBA in assists. And it's weird because, yes, he's ball dominant, and yes, he averages a triple-double, but Russ kind of delivers a lot. And I know when Broussard, by the way, LeVar, is saying, people love to say Russ is a loser, he's really thinking about me because I have been bashing Russ a lot. The guy opens himself up for criticism. It's understandable, but he's still a damn good player. He's still a Hall of Famer.
So
and I
funny.
think the fit is going to work here. LeVar,
That was so backhanded. That compliment was so backhanded,
listen,
but go ahead.
When you open yourself up and you say things and
good
act
player.
a certain way, he's very good. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a superstar, as you like to say. Russ is going to fit great with this team. He's going to set up the three-point shooters on the perimeter, and Anthony Davis is going to benefit so much. The real winner here also is LeBron. He's going to have to do less offensively. He's not going to care about the MVP award. And Russ is going to do a lot of the dirty work as long as he moves off the ball, gets into the lane, and creates. Again, I've said it all week. This is a 55-60 win team and the best team in the West.
You act like that's something special. I'm sure, as much as you're praising them, I'm surprised you're going 55 wins.
55-60. That's going to be good for first in the West, Chris.
57 wins, that's all?
You don't think that's #1 in the West?
Man. But look, Russ is a legend. Russ is an icon. 30 years from now, even if he wins a championship this year, that'll certainly help his legacy. But what people are going to remember Russell Westbrook for, unless this Lakers team wins like 2 or, championships or more, they're going to remember him as the guy that averaged a triple-double 4 years. Just like we remember Oscar Robertson as the guy that averaged a triple-double. Not so much the guy that won a championship with Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. All right, so Russ is iconic. There's no doubt. All right, but you brought up what he did in Washington last year with the drive into the basket, which he did. He did it in Houston, too. But how did he do it when the paint was wide open, when the floor was spread? Now, maybe the Lakers, maybe Marc Gasol will start alongside these three, the big three, and that'll help you space the floor. And then you put Kent Bazemore, Wayne Ellington, whoever the other guy is, so you get spacing. But they got to make sure they have spacing. Because if Russ doesn't have that spacing and that middle isn't open, that's when all that drive into the basket will be on the decline.
No mercy. Nothing has changed for Cam Newton. He's still the starter in New England, even after the Patriots drafted Mac Jones. That doesn't mean Cam's job is safe. As Bill Belichick made it clear, both guys are in a healthy battle. The 6-time Super Bowl winning coach told reporters, quote, competition makes us all better. So it's been healthy, and we'll see how it goes. LeVar, who do you think will start week 1 for the Patriots, and who do you think should start week 1?
I believe Cam will be starting week 1 for the Patriots for obvious reasons. I think as it stands right now, he still is the undisputed leader in that locker room and to those players. But by all accounts given, the amount of reps that Mac Jones has been taking will lead you to believe that, well, they want to see more of him. They want to see if they can trust him. They want to see where he is in terms of how far along is he in being able to basically navigate with an NFL offense. So those are all good indicators. The more a coach wants to see you with first reps, if it's not an injury-related situation with Cam not taking as many reps, that's different. But regardless of if it is, you preserving Cam and not overusing him, overexerting him to make sure he's okay and ready to go come regular season, health-wise, it's still great for Mac Jones to get those reps to show, improve, to learn, build trust with his teammates, build a rapport, build a reputation. All of those things matter when trying to gain a position as important as the quarterback's position. That's a daunting task for Mac Jones to be able to beat out Cam at this point in time. But to get that many reps, to get as much run with the first team as Jones has been getting, there should be indications that he is doing well enough where he's not a scout team guy, because in the NFL, the starting quarterback gets all of the reps. That's it. Like, you could get garbage time reps here and there. It might be 1 or 2, reps per period that you get as a garbage time guy. To get just as many or more reps than what the perceived starter is getting, there's something there that you got to look at. You got to pay attention to it.
Look, it's obviously hard to answer who will and should start without us being there, really seeing who's looking better in practice. But if we go on the assumption that Mac Jones getting the bulk of the reps, getting maybe almost twice as many reps as Cam Newton is getting, let's go on the assumption that means he's throwing the ball better, he's looking better, he's getting, reading things better. Then I think they should go with Mac Jones. And I would say I think Cam's going to probably end up being the starter. But if Mac is looking better, then Bill Belichick has shown he's going to do what's best for the team. Like, this goes way back, but when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, he was making tons of money. He was a 4-time All-Pro, I believe, at that point. And Tom Brady was a nobody. But Tom Brady had him winning. So when Drew came back, Belichick stood his ground and stuck with Tom Brady because that was best for the team. So I think, as much as he likes Cam, and he clearly likes Cam, and you're right, LeVar, I mean, Cam has won that locker room over. He won it over a year ago in quick fashion. But still, if Belichick thinks Mac Jones looks better, then he's going to be the starting quarterback, and he should. We saw the comparisons to Tom Brady. Obviously, that's just woefully premature and probably ridiculous. But if they think he looks good, they're built to win. All that spending they did in the offseason, Belichick's not trying to go 7-8 again or 7-9 again. All right, he's trying to win and get in the playoffs. He saw what Tom Brady just did. And so if Mac Jones gives him the best opportunity, he will, I think, be the starter. And he should be, because he's the future. Or if he's not the future, you got to find out. Okay, because they probably think they've got their quarterback. So find out. See what he does this season. And if he, so going into next season, do we need to look at drafting another guy or trading for or signing a quarterback in free agency? Or is Mac our man? So the sooner he's out there and ready to go, the better, so they can find that out.
Yeah, I'll go with should be Cam And reluctantly, I'm going to say it will be Cam. And LeVar, you made a good note on the splitting the reps in preseason here in practice. If you look at San Francisco, right, they drafted Trey Lance 3rd overall. He's taken 1 snap with the first team. Now, Trey Lance is a lot younger. Remember, he's only 21 years old. Mac Jones turns 23 but right before week 1 or during week 1. So this is a mature kid in Mac Jones. And when he got to Alabama, he was a 5th-string quarterback, 5th on the depth chart. And then, good fortunes happen, and he rises up and becomes a superstar. But some of the writing on the wall for Cam is not good. The amount of reps that Mac Jones is getting right now. And remember, last year, Cam had opening week like no talent on the skill positions. Like they have 3 new starting wide receivers this year, 2 new starting tight ends. All those guys were not there last year. Mac Jones is coming in and getting to drive around a really nice car. Cam went there and had a hoopty. It was not good last year. They had the COVID opt-outs on defense. He never really had a chance. I know he has a year in the Josh McDaniels system, and that should give him an edge. But as Broussard alluded to, Bill Belichick doesn't go drafting quarterbacks in the first round often. He got Mac Jones because he clearly likes him. It feels like it might be sooner than later that Mac Jones takes the reins in New England. And I kind of feel bad for Cam because, as LeVar said, this is an alpha. He walks in the locker room. People love him. They respect him. They look up to him. Mac Jones, a little more sheepish, doesn't have the big stature puffing out his chest. This is suddenly a really fascinating situation in New England. I worry how the locker room will handle that if, for some reason, Mac Jones is the starting quarterback in week 1 against the Dolphins. Now, that game is in New England, and if you look at what Brian Flores, remember, a very good defensive coach in New England, Brian Flores confounded Justin Herbert. His worst game last year as a rookie was against the Dolphins. It was in Miami. So because of that, I don't think Mac Jones starts week 1 against Flores.
I think there's still some other issues that have to be taken into consideration when looking at who you're going to start for this team. This is still a fragile team. I mean, let's be clear and let's be honest. It's a fragile team from the departure of Tom Brady last season and them winning a Super Bowl with Tom Brady in Tampa. If you don't think that played on the players in New England, the McCourtys, the longtime, leaders in that locker room, I can guarantee you it did have an impact on them. Now, Bill Belichick has to be more of a manager of emotions and personalities, maybe for the most that he's ever had to do during his coaching career. This is a team that needs to have moral wins. They need to have a definitive step in the right direction from what took place last year. I find it hard to believe with the hole that Tom Brady left in that organization with his departure, that, by the way, if we're measuring out and looking at it from a critical eye, Cam did a hell of a job making sure that team had some type of glue, composure, stay together as a group through all of the adverse situations that they found themselves in, including him getting caught up with the, the COVID. So, in the end, Cam did a whole lot for this organization in a very, very transformational moment of time for the organization. So I think that Cam has to be the starter. No matter what Mac does, I think Cam still has to be the starter, and it has to play out during the course of the season. I don't think that it's a week 1 decision where you put Mac Jones in there unless Mac Jones is playing at such a high level. And that would be shocking to me, that you're playing at such a high level that you take the chance of losing that locker room by starting a rookie over an established leader that probably, in a lot of ways, based off of what he's accomplished with the Patriots, with his resume, should have the opportunity to at least start the season off and see how far he can lead them before you make the decision to move on to a different quarterback.
Obviously, LeVar, I haven't been in locker rooms like you have. But if Mac Jones is out there looking great, and you kind of alluded to it, but I don't know if it has to be quite as high and dynamic as you're saying. If he's out there clearly outplaying Cam, then I would imagine that locker room is like, yo, he's ready. They know he's the quarterback of the future. he's ready.
Hey,
then I think they would be on board with it. And
practice reps are different.
I'm with you.
Practice reps are a little, they're perceived a little differently.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I hear you, and we'll see what happens in the preseason.
Yeah.
But if Cam, look, I would love for Cam. I thought he'd have a really big bounce back year last year. All right, and I'll give him look. They were 2-1, darn close to being 3-0 early on, right? And then he got COVID. All right, maybe that impacted him more than we thought. I don't know. But if you want to give him that as an explanation or excuse, okay. But Cam doesn't look like he can throw the rock.
He didn't really have. If you think about the offseason that he had coming into playing with the Patriots and the task that he was going to have, the undertaking that he took, that was a tremendous undertaking for any quarterback to have to come into. So that's, I think that we got to look at. He is 1 yard run away against Seattle from things being very different. He's a COVID situation away from things possibly panning out a whole lot differently. So when I look at practice, yes, the more reps you're taking with ones, there's something there. But there's also something to be said about there's guys that Broussard, I've seen guys in practice that you'd be like, oh, my God. I remember a few times there were dudes that were behind me. A dude named Sessions, I'll never forget his name, came from Tennessee, was a little undersized, but, man, his game was ill in practice. I'm sitting there like, this little young buck might come get me. Like, he might get my gig. Like, he's that good. We get into the games, and he's good, but he wasn't me. So once the rubber hits the road and you get to them game situations where that dog hunting you on the other side needs to know that there's a dog on the other side hunting you, when you get to those situations, that's when you find out who's the big dog. And right now, the one that has proven that they're a big dog is Cam, Big Cam. Mac is going to have to prove, get out of that 50 jersey. Like, get into a regular number. Get into the mix of things where you're looked at as a guy that's going to lead this deal, not the one that's getting hunted down by dogs out there in the Serengeti, because it gets real out there in that wilderness.
No mercy. Thursday, the Yankees and White Sox travel to Iowa and the site of the most beloved baseball movie of all time to play a historic regular season matchup on the real Field of Dreams. You won't want to miss it. The MLB Field of Dreams game presented by Geico Thursday at 6 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. The Knicks and Bulls have not been to the NBA Finals since the 90s. And though a lot needs to unfold before they get back there, the arrow is pointed up for both historic franchises. New York locked up Julius Randle with a long-term deal, brought in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. And among Chicago's big ads, they grabbed DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball. Chris, which team will be able to contend faster in the East?
How about neither?
Oh, wow.
I mean, what? Contend for a playoff spot?
There goes that moonwalk on the fence.
The way the question is asked, contend in the East. Look, both of them had nice off seasons. Cute offseason.
Cute.
All right, I like Lonzo in Chicago. I like him next to Zach LaVine. With Zach being able to shoot, with Lonzo being able to shoot, with Nick Vucevic being able to shoot. I like DeMar DeRozan in there. He's a veteran. His mid-range game and slashing can fit because they got shooters around him. So they made an improvement. All right, but they'll be doing well to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, it was a good season. Let's not even talk about contending, please. All right, and the Knicks, good offseason. They got Julius Randle for a very good price. We knew he wasn't going anywhere. They keep Derrick Rose. They want to bring him off the bench, let him be a great sixth man. He was their best player in the playoffs. I like that. Evan Fournier, we've seen even in Olympic competition that he can ball. I like Evan Fournier. Like, he's a legit baller. Kemba can play. Now, there's a question mark just because of the knee. You know, hopefully the knee can withstand. Let's assume that he's healthy and he can play. That's a good get. But again, making the playoffs would be good for them. I think they'll make the playoffs. As far as next season, making the playoffs, I like the Knicks better than the Bulls. because Tom Thibodeau maximizes the regular season. He gets the most out of his team, all right? They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, but this team could win a good number of games. They won't be the 4th seed, so they're going to drop in the seeding, but they will win games. I believe that. But come on. I mean, I can say the same thing about the Knicks that I can say about every other sorry or mediocre team out there. They need a superstar. They need a superstar. So, yeah, whichever team can get that superstar in free agency, that's who's going to be able to contend in the East the quickest. Now, maybe does Lonzo Ball take another step? Do people start looking at Chicago as, oh, they one guy away. If I go there, I can get us to contention. Or does a guy look at New York like that? But as they're currently constituted, I can't believe either of you is going to say that one of these teams is close to contention.
You saw what he just did. Did you just see what he just did before he turned over the microphone?
Seldom right and wrong again.
Holy moly, Chris Broussard. Your debate techniques are very questionable at best, the way you set it up. You set us up not to be able to have a way to win against your crushing logic took place.
That's actually a good technique.
Okay.
That's actually a good technique.
All right. Go. You want it, J-Mac, or do you want?
Chris, I'm going to take you back 1 calendar year, okay? Look before last season happened. Did anyone on planet Earth who watches basketball say, you know what, the Hawks, they can contend. They can get to the conference finals. Nobody had that. Not one person. Did anybody? A lot of people said, oh, the Suns got better with Chris Paul. But nobody would have thought the Suns are going to contend and get to the NBA finals. Chris, the NBA is such a weird animal. Things happen. The Portland Trailblazers were in the conference finals a couple years ago. Every year, somebody makes a quantum leap. I don't know if it's the Bulls or the Knicks, but I would tell you this. The Chicago Bulls had such a good offseason. Yes, they probably gave DeMar DeRozan too much money, but they are such a deep team. They're flexible. You know, by the way, DeMar DeRozan, I know he's taken a lot of shots from people on this show, Chris Broussard. DeMar DeRozan got unlocked last year as a playmaker. Career high, 6.9 assists per game. He's not just a mid-range guy, which you keep denigrating him as. He is now a playmaker. And guess what? Lonzo Ball is going to fit great defensively. Alex Caruso, the White Shadow, he is a great pickup. This is the Chicago Bulls team. I don't know if they can make the Hawks leap to the conference finals, but I'm telling you, what I've seen from Zach LaVine. No, I'm not done. Zach LaVine in the Olympics. This guy's really, he's around some of the best players in the league. I saw a crazy stat. Zach LaVine, this is the first 4-game winning streak he's had with the Olympic team, dating back to UCLA. That's how many bad teams he's been on in the NBA, okay? Zach LaVine raising his level. This is a Bulls team that's dangerous. I like what the Knicks did. They're flexible. I think they get in the Dame Lillard sweepstakes. But for you to say neither of these are a contender is just blasphemous, okay? We're talking about an Atlanta Hawks team that made the conference finals, beating the #1 seed in Game 7 on the road. Why can't Chicago make the leap? Why not? LeVar, why not? Why not the Knicks?
They're not as good as Milwaukee and it's going to have to be a lot of injuries.
The Eastern side,
like this year.
The Eastern side is way more turbulent, way more volatile than the Western side. Now, if you look at the Eastern side and you say the last NBA Finals that the Lakers won, Broussard, would you have said that the Miami Heat are a contender, a true contender? Yay, nay? Yay, nay? Did you have them in the finals?
No.
Do they have a bona fide superstar on that roster that year?
I told you, LeVar, there was pixie dust in that bubble.
All right, well.
There were flying leprechauns
and you know what's crazy
charms and all types of madness.
I totally went with you on the pixie dust, and I was supportive of it, and I'm going to use that pixie dust line right now. There's still pixie dust floating around in the Eastern Conference, and that's why Milwaukee was able to make it to the finals and win the finals. It's because that pixie dust hasn't fully worn off yet. So, to me, when I look at these teams, I look at the Knicks and I say the Knicks have the best opportunity to be that team that can be competitive in the pixie dust era of the Eastern Conference situation. So, to me, you look at the additions. Maybe Randall hasn't transitioned into being a superstar, but he has at least shown the potential that he can. He's got great resume. He's got a great DNA connected to him. Had an opportunity to learn from one of the greatest in the game, and it translated. It actually translated with most all of the guys that left the Lakers that year. It translated in different places. So I believe Randall takes another step forward in being a dominant player in this NBA league. I think adding Fournier, did I say it right? Fournier? Yeah, I'm not great with names.
Fournier.
I think he's a class to add to them to bring another element and another level of ability. And if Kemba Walker is healthy, and you got to say, because it is the preseason or it is the offseason, if Kemba Walker can come in and be anywhere near what he has been when he's healthy and not a shell of him former self, this team really, really, to me, matches up well with the crust of the Eastern Conference. So you got to look at them there. I think there are too many question marks to actually say I'm going to be bullish about the Bulls. But when you look at the Knicks and what they were able to do, and even how competitive they were in the playoffs, that was more of a heartbreaker that they didn't get out of that series with the Hawks. It wasn't man, I'm just happy they were here. I did not see it as it being the Hawks dominated the Knicks. I think Trae Young showed some real moxie. I think he did really well, but I thought it was a competitive series that at one point in time could have gone either way. And maybe they're one player away from being that team that could have possibly taken the Hawks to the last game and won or whatever it may have been. But I think the Knicks have the highest upside here to be a contender with what the offseason held for them this year.
LeVar,
yes.
The Hawks beat them in 5.
They beat them in 5.
Right. Trae Young went and took the Garden over from Julius Randle. Julius Randle struggled. Julius Randle, I was concerned. I had concern after watching. I put him on second-team All-NBA, so I like Julius Randle, but I got concerns after seeing him in that playoff series. Derrick Rose was their best player.
Well, he had no help.
No, they weren't close. And look, you compared them. I don't know if this was a Freudian slip, if that's the right way to use it.
Go ahead.
You said they match up well with the crust of the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
The crust is the bottom. All right, they match up. I'll give you that. They match up well with the bottom.
The crust covers
They don't match up well with Brooklyn.
You do know the crust covers the top of the pie.
They don't match up well with Brooklyn.
I thought upper crust was positive.
I don't know how you live in your life, but crust is considered an elite term. That's an elitist term. I don't know. We'll talk about it off air. Well,
upper crust.
I didn't have to say, well, if you're upper crust, you don't have to use
But, Chris, you still haven't addressed his Miami Heat made the finals, Atlanta Hawks made the conference finals, and nobody thought either of those teams were ready to contend. Let's hear your defense of that one. Good luck.
Good luck.
Well, injuries last year. Injuries. I mean, y'all sat here and dogged. Y'all sat here and dogged the Milwaukee Bucks because they beat a banged-up Brooklyn team.
Depleted.
And now I'll give you,
depleted.
If Brooklyn's going to lose 2 of their 3 best players, if Milwaukee's going to get injured, if Joel Embiid's not going to be there, if Jason Tatum goes down, if Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis have ill-fated injuries,
than the Knicks. Stop.
I mean, if all of that happens, yeah, I'll ride with y'all that the Bulls and the Knicks got a shot.
Okay. So that's
but
what
you're
I love.
Sitting here on national television telling me the Bulls and the Knicks have a chance to get to the NBA Finals?
Conference finals at least means they're contending. But, Chris, you opened the show saying, well, Giannis is the best player. And LeVar and I accurately said, well, that's because injuries cleared a path for Giannis to win the championship. I mean, and now it's like, well, the Hawks only got to the conference finals because of injuries. I love how you play both sides, Chris. I mean, that's not really allowed, but whatever. I mean...
You should have mentioned the Heat. You should have mentioned the Heat because the Heat made it.
There needs to be about 7 big-time injuries for the Knicks and the Bulls to have a chance to get to the conference. Look, secret. Let me let y'all in on a little secret.
Let's have this secret.
Even the Knicks and the Bulls don't think they contended for the Eastern Conference title. All right? Even the Knicks and the Bulls know that. Thibodeau will tell his guys that. Tibbs might believe it. But come on, man.
Chris, I mean, the Atlanta Hawks were like 10 games below 500 and fired their coach and still made the conference finals. I don't understand how you just refuse to believe that teams can get better. Players can make that leap. Coaches, Billy Donovan is a good coach, man. He's got good pedigree. He was with Kevin Durant and Westbrook. Billy Donovan is a good coach. I'm telling you, the Chicago Bulls right now have
when they dropped that 3-1 lead to Golden State.
They are at least to the
when that Miami Heat team made it to the finals with no superstar.
Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, like players get better. I think you're just too wrapped up in what just happened, being a little knee-jerk. No mercy. Elijah Moore has a chip on his shoulder after being the 6th receiver taken in the 2021 NFL Draft. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Kadarius Toney, and Rashad Bateman may have went before Moore, yet his confidence remains. The newest Jets receiver told reporters where he ranks among his classmates, saying, "I think I'm the best." LeVar, will the Jets rookie prove the 5 teams that drafted receivers ahead of him wrong?
No. No, he won't prove him wrong.
How you gonna do that?
But he can prove him right, and that's what's most important. I like his mindset. I like his mentality. I like his approach. And listen, he's an undersized receiver. So in the grand scheme of things, you'll say, okay, well, so is Devonta Smith, which you would be correct. He's even more undersized than what Elijah Moore is. Elijah Moore is a playmaking receiver. Elijah Moore can get yak. He gets yards after the catch. He runs tremendous routes. His route progressions are very nice. He knows how to slip into open areas onto the field while running his routes. I like his game. What does that mean in New York for the Jets? I'm not sure on that yet. The verdict is still out. Can Zach Wilson be the guy he needs to be? There are so many different things that have to play out in order for a receiver to have the level of success that they would want to have. That's first and foremost. But then secondly, I look at Jamar Chase and I'm like, dude is a beast coming out of college. He's a beast. Devonta Smith, we haven't seen that type of performance from a receiver in, ever. From a guy coming out. Now, how will that even translate into the NFL with his size? I mean, he's already dealing with nursing injuries right now as it stands. I don't know how durable or how his body type will play out in the National Football League. It remains to be seen. When I look at Jalen Waddle, I think he has the best opportunity to get out of the blocks early and have a really, really tremendous career to start off for obvious reasons. I mean, he's going to be needed in the situation that he's in. And then Bateman, I've been talking a lot about Bateman. He, to me, is the most intriguing of them all because I believe his playmaking ability that he showed in college actually translates more. In my estimation, it translates more into the league than possibly the other ones outside of maybe Chase. So to me, it's not about proving those teams that didn't take you wrong, proving them wrong. It's about proving you right, that you bet on yourself. And if you're hoisting a Rookie of the Year award and we're looking at you as you know, an all-pro or a selection to be an all-pro in the future or a pro bowler, you make a Pro Bowl as a rookie, then everybody's going to sit there and be like, man, you know what? This Elijah Moore, he's a guy. And this is a guy that you need to be paying attention to. But to me, I like the mindset of it. And if he does prove people wrong, God bless, more power to him.
Yeah, I like the mindset, too. I mean, that's really what I want, right, from a rookie that people aren't expecting a ton from. And that could help him, too, is that the expectations for him will be a lot lower than for, say, Jamar Chase, right, or Jalen Waddle. Now, I don't think those two, I don't think there'll be any regrets about taking them and bypassing Elijah Moore. They obviously both have some camaraderie already with their quarterbacks, right? Chase and Joe Burrow from LSU and the Alabama connection with Tua and Waddle. So I think those guys will be fine. I like Bateman, you know. I think they need better receiving in Baltimore. So maybe he's just what the doctor ordered for them down there with Lamar Jackson. I like Moore. I actually am a little bit skeptical about Devontae. And you talked about the size. That's the main thing I'm skeptical about. Yes, Moore is small too, but Moore is only 5'9". They weigh about the same. He's put together a little more compact.
He's a little bit more.
All right, Devontae's tall and lanky. Levontae's like 6 feet. So he's a little lankier. And that's where I wonder, can he take the punishment that comes with the NFL? So I see Moore in the slot. I know they're working him all over the place right now. And, you know, he's getting rave reviews. I'm starting to think everybody gets rave reviews in training camp. All right, but they're talking about him like he's, you know, going to be a Hall of Famer. All right, but they're working him everywhere. I see him in that slot. And like you said, LeVar, great route runner, quick, 4.3 speed. I think he can be dangerous in the slot. Now, will Zach Wilson take advantage of that? We'll see. But going on later, I think he could be a really nice slot receiver in this league in the future, if not this season.
Guys, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I saw that on a bumper sticker. And I want to think back to the 2020 NFL draft. Was the best receiver in that draft Henry Ruggs, the guy who went first? Nope. Was it the guy who went second, Jerry Jeudy? Nope. You got to go all the way down to the 5th receiver drafted, Justin Jefferson, Minnesota. New record for receiving yards in a season.
Nice.
And again, history will rhyme. Where was A.J. Brown drafted? I think you talked about him earlier, Chris. You're a big Titans fan all of a sudden. A.J. Brown, 2nd-round receiver. DK Metcalf, flex on him. DK fell to the 2nd round. Historically, receivers who go 1st or 2nd at the top of the draft, they're the best prospect, but they don't always pan out. Maybe it's the burden of expectations. Maybe they're not really a 1. But usually, if you look historically in the last decade, a lot of the best receivers ended up coming in the 2nd round. It just, they drop in the draft. They have, like Elijah Moore said, a chip on their shoulder. They know, man, they didn't take me in the 1st round. They come out angry. They come out hostile. And these guys go in the 2nd round and they end up exceeding expectations. This is a tried and true measure. I'm not, going to get too excited about my Jets here, but I do want to thank the producers for crowbarring another Jets topic in. And let me just say this. Elijah Moore is going to fit so well in this LaFleur offense. Guys, look at the numbers. Zach Wilson, okay? Look at the BYU numbers. In play action at BYU, I know the conference of competition. LeVar, start rolling your eyes. 20 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in play action. LaFleur, you guys know what his brother does. LaFleur's a play action guy. Zach Wilson, a.k.a. the Mormon Mahomes, Elijah Moore. I've said enough.
I had a rebuttal, but we could go to break.
I think we could go to the next topic because I just crushed it.
We could go to break.
You like that, right, Chris?
I don't wish to touch it.
You saved the best for last. Your best take this whole week, you just said.
That's what that was?
Enough.
That's what that was, Chris Broussard?
Yeah, Chris Broussard.
That's his best take of the whole week. I've said enough.
You know, I just pulled my shoulder out, patting myself on the back.
I just chose not to choose.
Not what he said before it. That sentence, I've said enough.
No mercy.
Tomorrow on FS1, the Mets battle the Phillies. Then the Diamondbacks take on the Padres this Saturday at 3 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. And David Ortiz is putting his money on the line on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code below and download the app and answer 6 questions about that Mets-Phillies game for your chance to win $1,000 of Big Papi's money. Aaron Rodgers, hardly rusty despite missing all of OTAs. His live arm was on full display at the Packers practice. The reigning MVP casually dropped back and delivered the ball into a small net in the end zone from 40 yards out. Hard to believe he's 37 when he's slinging it like that. LeVar, how impressive was this throw?
And that's impressive. You know, you go to fairs and parks and you pay $1 and $2 to get balls to be able to do it. You do it enough times, you start making them. I mean, you're a professional. Like, that's not, when I heard trick throw, I thought he was going to have thrown something behind his back. I've seen guys do some crazy things in terms of like throwing the ball behind their backs and different things like that. But I mean, delivering a ball to a throwing net, you do realize that ball that he threw that went into that net was actually made for you to throw balls into that net. Yeah, y'all do understand that, right? So to me, I mean, I think it's pretty cool that he could throw it from so far away and make it into the net with accuracy, but that's what you're supposed to do when you're a quarterback and you're a quarterback in the National Football League. You throw the ball to these nets and you try to get them into the holes that are put into the net.
So is that a not very impressed?
I'm not super impressed. I'm not super impressed by this.
Yeah, clearly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean,
LeVar.
I'm sorry.
Have you ever done that?
I'm not a quarterback, Broussard.
I'm just asking.
Put Broussard's body on a tackling dummy and watch how bad that feels when I hit it. And then you'll understand. It would be like saying, wow, he knocked the life out of my body when he hit me, and then it came back at some point in time after he hit me. I'm supposed to do that because that's what I do every single day. I hit the tackling dummies. I hit the 6-man. You hit the popsicle stick. If I'm not impressive hitting those things as a linebacker, as a D lineman, then why am I here? Yeah. I'm a pro quarterback throwing the ball into a passing net. Why am I here if I can't hit that?
Broussard, how long would it take
you
to put it in the net? 10 chances, 20, an hour?
J-Mac, it usually takes me at least 3 or 4 chances.
Oh, geez.
3 or 4 tries before
I knew you had a great arm.
You used to spend all your money at the park. Your parents gave you $100. You spent 95 of it to win 1 award. You know that. You got 1 stuffed animal.
I'm actually going to give LeVar some love. I'm actually with you on this. Maybe you've seen it from quarterbacks you played with, LeVar, but I got to believe that most of the great quarterbacks, they can do this.
They can hit that.
Not every time, but right?
Well, he's not hitting it.
That's what you do.
Show me him doing it 3 times in a row. And now we can have a conversation.
Let me raise it. Broussard, what's tougher? Broussard, this net trick or Pat Mahomes throwing the ball out of the stadium?
Trick? Why is this a net trick?
Well, that's what the Packers are hyping it as on social media.
Throwing the ball out of the stadium that is a trick, because did he really do it?
So which is harder?
You're not throwing a ball out of a stadium.
I would say throwing it out of the stadium.
You're not throwing it out of a stadium.
Patrick Mahomes did throw it out of the stadium. No mercy. And Team USA will take on Rudy Gobert in France with a gold medal at stake in the Tokyo Olympics. France snapped America's 25-game Olympic winning streak during the group stages. So Team USA will be playing for the ultimate prize and looking for payback. Chris, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 obviously being the most confident, how confident are you in that Team USA winning gold tonight?
9.9999. I'll leave a little wiggle. That's a very little wiggle room. But, yeah, I think they avenged this loss. Remember, France beat them by 7 earlier in the rounds, but they found their groove, and mainly Kevin Durant is getting it going. He only played 21 minutes in that game they lost to France because he was in foul trouble and then eventually fouled out. So if Durant is there, he's clicking. What's happened is these teams have not been able to handle Team USA's defensive pressure and aggressiveness for a full 40 minutes. Like Australia can handle it for the first half, or really the first quarter and a half. But after that, it just wore them down. So if Team USA, they come out with that type of aggressiveness, I don't think France is going to be able to handle it for the full game. And then Durant will hit shots. I think a few other guys will be hot, and Team USA will get the gold.
Stick City is a place. 11s. It's an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10 for me. I'm not leaving any wiggle room. In fact, I'm giving extra credit. I talked earlier about how Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet right now. You're going to see why I said that tonight. One thing I knew about Kevin back in the day when I got to know him as a youngster, that competitive nature, like I talked about. He calls himself the what? The Slim Reaper, right? The easy sniper. You know why? Because he is going to assassinate dudes in this game tonight. There is a lot of pride at stake right now. They let that first game go, and they're going to carry that on their shoulder, and none more than a bigger one on the shoulder than Kevin Durant. Look for him to have a tremendously big night tonight, because I just know in my mind, if he's how I remember him to be, he's in his head like, we destroy these boys, and then we erase any type of ill feelings or any type of criticisms that may come. This is bigger than just winning the gold medal. This is about reputation, and I think that that's why these guys are going to really show up.
Yeah, Evan Fournier was in his bag. He had 28 against U.S. last time. I'm with you. The line, by the way, LeVar, 12.5, bumped up to 13. I think it was my bet on the USA that moved the line up to 13. I think they're lock city tonight. I would keep an eye on how they defend Fournier. Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, they'll probably split the assignment. And keep an eye on my guy, Zach LaVine, because I got to rep the Bulls. But the USA is lucky to not have to face Luka Doncic, who nearly beat France by himself with the triple-double, 18 assists, 1 turnover. Nick Batum got lucky swatting that shot in the final seconds. So Team USA will win the gold tonight.
By more than 13.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was really hoping to see. I was hoping to see Luka and Slovenia against Team USA.
Well, Luka and the Plumbers from Slovenia against the U.S. Let's put some respect on their names.
Well, because we do know that Luka is the best player in the world right now.
Correct, yes.
We do know that Luka is the greatest player to ever play the game.
Not ever.
I love Luka, but J-Max, slow down.
All right.
J-Max, slow down. In fact, stop.
That's not in my game. I'm all gas, no brakes.
I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a great weekend.
What an awesome week we had.
I'm going to get a beer.
Coming up next. Yeah.
I'm going to get a beer, y'all. My vacation starts right now.
All right, guys.
Peace, LeVar.
I'm out.
See you soon.